So Uranus in Taurus is like the last one to join this party. And at the moment, in 2018, as we're recording this, we've actually also got Jupiter and Saturn in feminine signs as well, because we have Jupiter in a water sign and Saturn in an earth sign. So there is an opportunity to kind of connect into a different style. If we're thinking about Uranus as the planet of revolution, we're not looking for an aggressive Martian war-style revolution necessarily. We're looking for a revolution that can hopefully lead to connection at the final outcome. That's the ideal. We'll see how it goes, but it's good to have a high ideal. So this kind of the idea of a new era is that the feminine approach or the feminine style, or if you like, the yin versus the yang quality, is that we are looking more for connection and collaboration. We are looking more in a way to kind of support all or support others. One of the differences between the feminine versus the masculine style is that the masculine is a little bit more independently focused. So the masculine approach is how can I get ahead, whereas the feminine approach is how can we all improve, or how can we all get ahead. And so the idea here is that as one goes up, we all go up. The saying, if you like, is the idea that the rising tide lifts all ships. And that's a very feminine perspective. So even as we're thinking about Uranus concepts like innovation and change, we are looking to do that in a way that will help all of us. So one of the things I wanted to dive into a little bit just at the outset today is the idea of Prometheus, or Uranus as Prometheus. And I'm going to, this info is straight out of a book that is covered in my Post-it notes, which is not helpful. This is a little book by Richard Tarnas called Prometheus the Awakener. And for those of you who are interested in really understanding the nature of Uranus transits, I cannot recommend this book highly enough. I'm giving you, maybe a 2-page sort of synopsis from the book. If you have a strong Uranus in your natal chart, or you do have a lot of Uranus transits coming up, or maybe you're working with clients and you want to better understand Uranus, I'm taking Richard's lead here and really encouraging you to get familiar with the myth of Prometheus. Prometheus was a titan and he rebelled against the gods. So he pushed back on their sort of controlling ways. He basically overthrew Kronos, who had turned into this tyrant. And so Prometheus was the instigator of that overthrowing the tyrant. And part of the reason to break down some of the features of the Prometheus myth is that when you're in a Uranus transit, these are the kinds of things that you're looking to do. So overthrow someone or something that has started to feel tyrannical in your life. Now, I certainly think it's great to do this at the collective level. Names need not be mentioned, but I also think it's really important to do this at the personal or the micro level. Prometheus was also the god who stole fire to liberate humanity. Fire was considered to be this creative spark. So if you had fire, not only could you create food and keep warmth, but fire, like light, if you like, in mythology, is often symbolic of breakthroughs or insight. The idea of I've seen the light, or I've warmed up to something. So the fire that Prometheus steals, he steals it from the gods and he gives it to humanity. So this is the idea of godlike or divine wisdom becoming accessible or easily shared amongst the masses. And so that is often correlated with these ideas of breakthroughs, either in culture or technology. It's also about encouraging autonomy, encouraging, one to be able to do for oneself so that you're less reliant, if you like, on others. The other thing that the fire is associated with is this idea of enlightenment or awakening. And that awakening can be intellectual or spiritual. And one of the things I've always loved about Uranus transits is how they really can shift our perspective and shift our thinking. It's like they break us open to concepts, the idea of being enlightened, seeing things or knowing things that you just weren't aware of. And then you're changed. You can't unknow something once you know it. And everything else has to shift and adapt around that. One of the other things that Prometheus did that I thought was really wonderful and kind of inspiring as we're talking about Uranus today is that Prometheus used unexpected timing to upset the establishment. So that's where we're seeing the manifestation, if you like, of the renegade and the rebel, and the one who is kind of working maybe behind the scenes to really push back against what has become entrenched or established. And this idea of things that have been established needing to change or morph, I think is really critical when we're talking about Uranus in Taurus, because Taurus, of course, is such a steady, stable, enduring sign that it represents things that are enduring and that have been established for a long period of time. And so the idea here with Prometheus is that, you know, he is a mythological figure who really represents a lot of the qualities that we put on Uranus. And look, if you know the full myth of Prometheus, it didn't have a great outcome for Prometheus in the end. He was punished and he was kind of chained to a rock where every night an eagle would come and eat his liver. And then overnight, the liver would grow back and the next day the liver would get eaten out again. So I'm not necessarily saying that it's, you know, like most Greek myths, it's not always a happy myth, but there are some great threads in here that we can carry forward. I don't think we all get punished like Prometheus for doing these types of things, but I think that's a clue that there will often be consequences for challenging the establishment or claiming the fire that you know is rightly yours, but it does ripple out and will have some consequences. One of the challenges people deal with as they contemplate the kinds of changes they might want to make under a Uranus transit is, you know, to get this thing, I have to change this other thing. And part of the reason that we often take a little while to get those choices made or to put those changes in place is we're weighing up inside ourselves, is the cost worth the benefit? And so this is an important teaching to take out of the Prometheus myth. But the idea is that the motivation of Prometheus was to share the wisdom around, to try to create more of this sort of equal environment where we didn't have the tyranny that was such a problem in Greek mythology. And here's a beautiful image here of Prometheus actually stealing the fire from the heavens and coming down to bringing it down to earth. And so those ideas of trying to, you know, overthrow elements of control in your life, looking for wisdom, these are the things that are really happening inside of you, you know, when you're having a Uranus transit. It's almost like this is what you're trying to do, even if you're not consciously aware of it. And what happens in a Uranus transit is the beginning part of a Uranus transit is often a restlessness where we feel agitated or we feel frustrated. We feel unsettled in areas of our life or in ways that we normally feel very calm. So if you're starting to feel that, or you're noticing clients using those languages, those words like I'm bored or I'm frustrated or I just don't want to do it anymore, that's the language of Uranus coming through. That's the spirit of Prometheus showing up in your client as they try to express or grapple with, why is it that I no longer like or am interested in things that I've worked very hard to create or things that have been in my life giving me security and stability for a really long time? And therein lies the conundrum of being human, because it is a constant journey and it is a constant evolution. And once we become safe and settled in terms of material environment, that's often when we start searching at the more spiritual level.